On Commonwealth Day last year, I placed this message into this baton.
King Charles spent 70 years waiting for a job, and by the time he got it, half the country had decided they did not want him to have it. He was 3 when his mom became queen. He was 73 when he finally took over. That is the longest wait in British history, and it made him the oldest person ever crowned on that throne. But this is not a story about patience. It is a story about a man who was once the most adored bridegroom on the planet, who then became the villain of the biggest royal soap opera in living memory, who was blamed by millions for what happened to Diana, and who somehow, right now in 2026, is the most popular he has ever been in his entire life. Let's go through it. Nobody asked King Charles whether he wanted any of this. He was 9 years old when his mother made him Prince of Wales. He reportedly found out while watching television at school. His father sent him to Gordonstown in the Scottish Highlands, a boarding school built on cold showers and character building, which Prince Philip had adored, and Charles openly hated. He later described it in genuinely bleak terms. He was a shy, sensitive boy, dropped into a place designed to toughen people up. And this is the thread running through his whole life. A man who never got to choose anything, being told constantly he was doing it wrong. He did eventually escape to Cambridge, where he became the first heir to the British throne in history to actually earn a degree. Small win. It took decades to get another. Here is the part of King Charles nobody bothered to notice for about 40 years. He left the Royal Navy in 1976 with £7,600 of severance pay. He could have done anything with it. He started a charity. That became the Prince's Trust, now the King's Trust, which over 50 years has helped more than 1.3 million young people in Britain into work and training. And his Navy career was real, not decorative. He trained as a jet pilot, flew helicopters off a carrier, and ended up commanding his own mine hunter. He turned his estate at Highgrove over to organic farming, when organic was still a punchline. And he gave a speech in 1970 warning about pollution and plastic waste. He was 21. The press treated him like a crank. Half a century later, everybody is saying exactly what he said, and nobody credits him for it. Then came the day 750 million people watched King Charles marry a 20-year-old, and everything changed. Lady Diana Spencer was young, shy, and completely unprepared. He was 32. St. Paul's Cathedral, a glass carriage, the dress with the enormous train, the balcony kiss. It was the biggest television event the world had ever seen. This was the peak, not just of his popularity, of the entire monarchy's popularity in the 20th century. And here is the tragedy sitting underneath it. By both their own later accounts, the marriage was already unhappy. 2 people who barely knew each other, one of them still in love with somebody else, performing a fairy tale for the entire planet. Everything that came afterwards traces back to that day. The highest point of his life was also the beginning of the fall. King Charles went on national television and admitted he had cheated on Diana. That was 1994 in an interview with Jonathan Dimbleby, and it detonated. By then, everybody already suspected. A private phone call between Charles and Camilla had leaked the year before, and it was excruciating. The couple had formally separated in 1992, and then Diana did something nobody expected. She sat down with the BBC in 1995 and calmly said there were 3 people in the marriage, so it was a bit crowded. That single sentence did more reputational harm to King Charles than anything before or since. Overnight, he was not a prince. He was the man who broke Diana's heart, on the record, in his own words. They divorced in 1996. He was, at that moment, one of the least popular public figures in the country. In August 1997, King Charles hit the lowest point of his entire life, and it was not really about him. Diana was lost in a car accident in Paris. She was 36 years old. The grief that followed was unlike anything Britain had seen, and a great deal of the blame went straight to him. He was the husband who had cheated. He was the family that had frozen her out. Flowers piled meters deep outside the palaces. The newspapers turned openly hostile, and for a while it genuinely felt like the monarchy itself might not survive it. He flew to Paris to bring her home. He walked behind her coffin with his two sons, aged 15 and 12. And for years afterwards, a large chunk of the public simply could not look at him without thinking of her. So how does King Charles come back from being the most disliked man in Britain? Slowly, very slowly. He kept working, kept turning up, kept running his charities, and quietly kept Camilla Parker Bowles in his life. It took years for her to appear in public with him at all. They married in 2005, roughly 3 decades after they first met. Even that got pushed back a day because he had to attend a funeral in Rome. No grand cathedral, no glass carriage, nothing like 1981. And bit by bit, the story stopped being about betrayal and started being about persistence. By the time his mother reached her final years, the mood towards him had genuinely shifted. In September 2022, King Charles got the crown and lost his mother in the exact same moment. Queen Elizabeth II passed away at Balmoral, aged 96, after 70 years on the throne. He was king instantly. There was no pause, no time to grieve privately. He was on television the following evening and formally proclaimed within days, while the country queued for miles to say goodbye to her. The coronation came in May 2023. Around 2 billion people watched. It cost the taxpayer £72 million. Camilla was crowned beside him, which 20 years earlier would have been unthinkable. But the guest list was roughly a quarter the size of his mother's in 1953. 16 months into the job, King Charles was told he had cancer. February 2024. They found it while treating him for something completely unrelated and harmless. And to this day, the palace has never said what type it is. Only what it is not. He stepped back from public events, kept doing the actual work of being king, and was back out shaking hands by April. At the end of 2025, he said his treatment could be reduced. Reduced, not finished. Nobody has said he is cured. And through all of it, his youngest son was on another continent. Prince Harry had stepped back in 2020, done the Oprah interview, written a memoir, and told the BBC in 2025 his father would not speak to him. They finally met that September for the first time in 19 months. And then King Charles had to do something no British monarch has done in over a century. In October 2025, he began the formal process of stripping his own brother of everything. Andrew stopped being a Royal Highness, stopped being a prince. He is now simply Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, struck off the Order of the Garter, and moved out of Royal Lodge. In February 2026, he was arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office over his association with an American financier convicted of serious offenses. Andrew denies the allegations and has not been charged. In July 2026, YouGov found 68% of Britons think King Charles is doing a good job. The man everybody wrote off ended up respected. Just very, very late.